Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone. It's great to see you all here. Thank you for listening my answer to the question given. My name is Nita Safitri. Friends call me Afi sometimes. And I'm studying College of Universitas Tanjung Pura, which is Faculty of Economic and Business. So today I'm here to answer the question given my lecturer, Mr. Adi Mursalin. Firstly, I will answer the question Part A, which deal with the activities in Zoom meeting. There are 4 questions there. Next, I will answer the question on Part B, which deal with the theories of advanced HRM. There are 17 questions. Well, my dear friends, let me begin my answer. So the first questions on Part A is, are you active in attending the lecture of advanced human resources management? So my answer is, of course, I am active in attending advanced HRM courses, whereas in my opinion, this courses is one of the most important courses where in addition to fulfilling the graduation requirement, the knowledge gained is also useful for me in the future. I can say that I am always present at every meeting. And next is, do you engage in the discussion handled by your friends? Of course, I participate in existing discussions, for example, in a question and answer session with other students during presentations, or in discussions with my lecturer, with the master of this course, namely Mr. Adi Musalin, where not infrequently he provides additional information on the topics present. Next is, can you give the evidence of your activities in the discussions in Zoom meeting? The evidence that I can give is in the question and answer sessions of the presentations in chapter 25, namely HR planning and Divini as a presenter, in chapter 26, telemanagement and Andrian as a presenter, then in chapter 28, namely selections, interviewing, and Revelia as a presenters, and in chapter 30, namely the introduction to organization and Irfani as a presenter, then in chapter 34 and Putri Hermania as a presenter, finally in chapter 37, namely how people learn, and Adelia as a presenter. And other evidence is there is a YouTube recording of Mr. Adi Musalin. And the second question is, how many chapters have been present before the final term test? So there are 60 chapters that have been present by the HRM department this semester. And the next is, mention the topics of the chapter and the presenter. In chapter 22, the organization design was present by Kevin. In chapter 23, namely job design and role development, present by Bagas. And in chapter 24, namely organizational development, change and transformations, it is present by Wahyu. And chapter 25 is human resources planning, present by Divini. Then in chapter 26, namely telemanagement, it was present by Andrian. And in chapter 27, namely recruitment and selections, it was present by myself, Nita. And in chapter 28, namely selection interviewing, it was present by Revi. And in chapter 29, the selection tests were present by Tasha. And chapter 30, namely introduction to the organization, it was present by Irfani. Then in chapter 31, release from the organizations was present by Tata. In chapter 32, the basic of performance management was present by Willa. And in chapter 33, namely the process of performance management, present by Arsha. Then in chapter 34, 30-60 degree feedback was present by Putri. Then in chapter 35, namely strategic human resources development, Elisa present. Then in chapter 36, namely organizational learning and the learning organizations, Dewi is present. And in chapter 37, namely how people learn, was present by Adelia. And next question is, how do you find the presenter? So I can recognize the presenters because they brought the material of the time of presentations at the advanced HR course. Then also before sharing the presentation topic, our student had chosen the topic. Then also presenters who will present before the presentation day, the material they have summaries will be posted in the Office HRM advanced group. And the third question is, what can you obtain from watching your friends' presentations? First of all, of course, I get a lot of new information and knowledge from each topic or chapter present by my friends, where all the chapters present are closely related to the human resources divisions, and hope that all knowledge and informations can certainly be implemented by me when I am in the world of work, especially when we work in a company and serve as a manager or in the HR divisions. And further stories and discussions made me understand how to prepare myself, cultivate abilities, and learn again by increasing skills, abilities, and knowledge from anywhere. And the fourth question is, what book in use in your study of advanced human resources management? So the book we use is a handbook of human resources management practice by Michael Armstrong. And next is, how do you find the book? So the lecturer gave this book to discuss each chapter together. Other than that, we can find it on the internet when searching for the desired topic or material. Okay, so next I will answer the question in part B. So the first question is, what is motivations? How do you define motivations? Quoted from the book Strategic Human Resources by Michael Armstrong, in particular, according to the opinion of Arnold et al. 1991, motivate is a reason for doing something. Motivation is concerned with the factors that influence people to behave to certain ways. So the three components of motivations are directions, what our person is trying to do, and efforts, how hard each person is trying, and persistence, how long a person keep on trying. Motivating other people is about getting them to move in the direction you want them to go in order to achieve a result. Motivations can be described as a goal-directed behavior. So people are motivated when they expect that a course of actions is likely to lead to the attainment of a goal and a value reward, one that satisfies their needs. Well-motivated people are those with clearly defined goals who take actions that they expect will achieve those goals. Such people may be self-motivated, and as long as this means they are going in the right directions to achieve what they are there to achieve, then this is the best form of motivations. Most people, however, need to be motivated to a greater or lesser degree. So in my opinion, motivations is the inner and outside. So factors that invigorate one and energy in individuals to be easily intrigued and focus on a task, job, or subject, or to put forth an attempt to achieve an objective. Motivation is one of the most important concepts in human resources divisions. In most organizations, it is common to hear the refrain that particular employee is not motivated and hence his or her performance has taken a backseat. This is the reason companies spend humongous amounts of money in arranging for training sessions and recreational events to motivate the employees. Motivations can be understood as the desire or drive that an individual has to get the work done. For instance, when faced with a task, it is the motivation to accomplish it that determines whether a particular individual will complete the task according to the requirements or not. Further, the absence of motivations leads to underperformance and loss of competitiveness, resulting in loss of productive resources for the organizations. It is for this reason that the HR manager stress on the employees having high level of motivation to get the job done. Motivations of employees is indeed important for the health of the companies. Only when employees are motivated sufficiently and they give their best. So next is the question number 2. Read the following optional case study on motivations at Xerox and give complete answer to the questions that follow. So the first question is, how do you think Xerox was able to motivate its employees through the crisis it faced in 2000? Xerox is an American multinational corporation which services in 160 countries. It employs 130,000 people. It is dependent on the productivity and performance of employees. Xerox was raising bankruptcy in 2000 as a result of its mismanagement, debt, and mounting questions about its accounting practice, but it was able to overcome that situations by motivating its employees. And Mulcahy, CEO of Xerox, was the person who turned Xerox around. As she was an old employee of Xerox, she had a lifetime experience with it. She knew that Xerox had powerful employees, but they were lacking motivating. As success depends on ability and performance, but she took necessary steps to motivate the employee to bring back from the failure. So I think Xerox was able to motivate its employees by creating a motivating work environment to the company. Xerox created a supportive problem-solving work environment where motivations worked in self-government. It treated the employees fairly and showed concern to the employees. As one of Mulcahy's principle was, employees need to be motivated and interested in their work to achieve customer satisfaction. To create strong and successful employees, Xerox made sure that supervisor establish a complex goal that are accepted and understood by the employees and provide honest, real, and timely feedback to them. Supervisor motivate their team by letting them know their intentions and priorities. It provides a significant internal and external incentive to the employee and distribute rewards equitable. Every individual was maintained in different ways to Xerox, as the motivating factors are different for everyone. Xerox set motivating factors related to the employees and their individual perspective. I think by taking these steps, Xerox was able to motivate their employees. Mulcahy not only guided the company through a difficult period, but she also had the ability of transform it into a more powerful and absorbent entity. And the next question is, how does a CEO with such a larger number of employees communicate priority to a worldwide workforce? By the coming of new technology, a CEO can take advantage of technology and communicate priority to each and every individual in a worldwide workforce. Example of visual communications, Citigroup released PA81 to realize the company quarterly coming other than that. Broadcast informing financial performance, company initiative, and company achievement, and recently some historical the culture about one of the group heritage business that started in the late 1970 under the leadership of Walter Wriston as a chairman and CEO of Charles Citicorp. So next question is how does a CEO with such a larger number of employees communicate priority to a worldwide workforce? So, by the coming of new technology, a CEO can take advantage of technology and communicate priorities to each and every individuals in a worldwide workforce. Example of visual communication, Citigroup release PA81 to realize the company quarterly earning. Other than that, broadcast informing financial performance, company initiative, and company achievement, and recently some historical features about one of Citigroup heritage business that started in late 1970 under the leadership of Walter Wriston as a chairman and CEO of Charles Citicorp. Thousands of employees watch live broadcasts or video rebroadcast, and all have the opportunity to order a DVD or a VHS, a copy for viewing at home. Visual communication doesn't always have to high tech. At the Manon Colgate Palmolive factory, for example, there are whiteboards everywhere that disclose details about company conflicts, production goals, 6 employees list, birthday, holiday schedules, and others. There was a request from plant manager Rob Frazier that employees write daily on the whiteboard what they are doing to improve communication skills and how to better share idea. And in addition to visual media, companies can also use the intranet as a communications medium. The company intranet must be dynamic and attractive with a homepage that regularly updates so as to make it a source of searching for the latest information from company for its employees. Most ideally, the intranet should be integrated into the daily activities of employees, so employees have to keep checking the intranet all day long. So intranet case example, a senior vice president at a public relations company Ketchum. So they said that they treat the intranet is like a journalistic vehicle. They change their homepage every day. As a result, employees open the intranet every morning like they open the front page of a newspaper item every day. And the next question is how might Ursula Burns motivate employees to take calculate risks? So they motivate their team by letting them know what her intentions and priorities are. And this keep individuals for such a long period of time. She wants to encourage people to get things done, take risks, and not to be afraid of the risk. As a result, employees feel a sense of importance and a part of the process necessary to maintain a successful and profitable business which handles $20 billion in accounts payable annually. Positive reinforcement rewards for success, creating a strong culture through and scientific management theory. And the next question is what Anne Mulcahy and Ursula Burns were lifetime employees of Xerox. How does an organization attract and keep individuals for such a long period of time? From the case study, we have seen both Anne Mulcahy and Ursula were lifetime employees at Xerox, and they both later admit their position as a CEO in the company. One of the reasons of their staying in the organization for very long period is that they both were motivated and believe motivations can listen to turnover. They understood the importance of motivations and kept work motivated to their work. They apply the techniques effectively during the crisis time, which made employees begin to feel company success as their own. They also began to feel secure and confident about their work, which not only enhanced their productivity but also kept them working in the company for longer durations. Another key factor was a feeling of friendly environment and comfortable working place. It is important for an employees to feel comfortable in their working place, not as a boring working place. So, Burns and Mukahi always maintains a friendly relationship with their employees, which keep them motivated and made the business more successful. They saw a company's success as their own and got promoted, which helped them to stay motivated, and they stayed in the organization for such a long period. When an employee feels to be a part of the company, then the enhance of his her long-term employees are increased. The company should explore the exact reason of employees turnover and should work actively towards eliminating those reasons. Okay, next is the third question is what are the difference between leader and manager? So explain and give the example to your answer. A manager oversees and is accountable for the most critical components of a work, project, or team. Someone who is influential, takes command, and set an example for others in referred is as a leader. Managers and leaders typically earn their titles by demonstrating their management and leadership abilities in a business, educational, or team setting. A manager should have managerial quality, and a leader should have a managerial quality in an ideal setting. Managers have various obligations depending on what they perform and who they supervise. They are capable of delegating and implementing corporate or team plans. Managers are required to maintain a consistent understanding of who in a group is in a command. A leader is someone who takes the initiative in a group and chooses to perform to the best of his ability while also assisting others in doing. Effective management in team, school, or professional setting should possess both managerial and leadership abilities. Some people distinguish between leaders and managers because a leader prefers to deal with a group personal difficulties, whereas managers addresses duties and projects, not people. A manager is also seen to have subordinates because they are regarded as superior, and subordinates are those who must obey and carry out the orders of their superiors. Leaders do not have subordinates. Instead, they have followers. People who have gained a certain amount of respect believe in what the leader teaches or does. Unlike a boss and his subordinates, a follower is not obligated to follow the leader. While a manager and a leader have quite different skills that help them thrive, it is the combinations of those leaders' leadership that a managerial qualities that makes an effective manager. A leader is someone who guides and leads other people. They give a proper directions and purpose to their effort by shaping and molding their behavior to attain the desired objective. On the other hand, a manager is someone who is responsible for the management of the organizations. They look after the day-to-day operations, keep update with the changes in the market, and encourage people to work cooperatively, arrange all the resources and others. A leader shapes employees' behavior and define direction by developing and communicating organizational visions and stimulating them to achieve it. On the contrary, a manager tends to lay down the structure of the organization and delegate authority and responsibility to the employees, while a leader performs just one function of management, providing directions. A manager performs all the foundations of the management, such as planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. When it comes to the organizations of authority, a leader possesses informal authority by virtue on their personal qualities, knowledge, skills, and abilities. As again, a manager has formal authority due to his designations or positions in the organizations. Talking about approach, a leader has a proactive approach as they can predict future events and takes preventive actions and advance, whereas a manager has a reactive approach, and so they wait for the right time to take the actions. A leader can be around in both formal and informal setup, such as in a business organizations and an informal group, such as family, friend circle, and batch. In contrast, a manager can be found in a formal setup only, in a business organizations only, type and nature, and irrespective of its size. And to become a leader, one of our requires leadership qualities, whereas to become a manager, one needs to possess both leadership as well manager qualities. And for example, DQ Lab Computer is a firm that deals in laptop, tablet, and personal computers. The business was common by Mr. Rao in the year 1995. It has multiple branches in the city, employ more than 100 workers. Each branch has a team of 20 workers led by a supervisor who supervises them in the work. Further, Mr. Arum instructed to the supervisors of all the stores and also took after the day-to-day chores of the workers. Now, who is the manager and leader in this case? Well, all supervisors working in the company are the leaders, while Mr. Arun is the manager. So next is the fourth question is, what is XY theory of management? Theory S and theory Y were first explained by Mike Kroger in his book The Human Side of Enterprise, and they refers to two styles or management, authoritarian theory X and participative theory Y. If you believe that your team members dislike their work and have little motivations, then according to Mike Kroger, you will likely use an authoritarian style of management. This approach is very hands-on and usually involves micromanaging people's work to ensure that it gets done properly. McGregor called this theory as managers who use this approach trust their people to take ownership or their work and do it effectively by themselves. McGregor called this theory Y. The approach that you take will have a significant impact on your ability to motivate your team members. So it's important to understand how your perceptions of what will motivate them can shape your management style. Theory X managers tend to take a pessimistic view of their people and assume that they are naturally unmotivated and dislike work. As a result, they think that team members need to be prompted, rewarded, or punished constantly to make sure that they complete their tasks. This style of management assumes that workers dislike their works, avoid responsibility, and need consistent directions. Have to be controlled versus and threatened to deliver work. Need to be supervised at every step. Have no incentive to work or ambitions, and therefore need to be enticed by the work to achieve goals according to Microger. Organizations with a Theory X approach tend to have several tiers of manager and supervisors to oversee and direct workers. Authority is rarely delegated and control remains firmly centralized. Managers are more authoritarian and actively intervene to get things done. Although theory, X-management has largely fallen out of fashion in recent times. Big organizations may find that adopting it is unavoidable due to the sheer number of people that they employ and the tight deadlines that they have to meet. Theory-wise, managers have an optimistic, positive opinion of their people, and they use a decentralized, participative management style. This encourages a more collaborative, trust-based relationship between managers and their team members. And people have a greater responsibility, and managers encourage them to develop their skills and suggest improvements. Appraisals are regular, but unlike it, theory as organizations that are used to encourage open communication rather than control staff. Theory-wise, organizations also give employees a frequent opportunity for promotions. This style of management assumes that workers are happy to work on their work initiative, more involved in decisions making, self-motivated to complete their tasks, enjoying taking ownership of their work, seek and accept responsibility, and need little directions. View work as fulfilling and challenging, solve problems creatively and imaginatively, and theory-wise has become more popular among of organizations. This reflects a worker increasing desire for more meaningful careers that provide them with more than just money. It's also viewed by McGregor as a superior to Theory X, which he said reduces workers to cogs-in machines and likely demotivates people in the long term. And the question 5 is explain the 3 types of motivation to David McCallins. In the early 1940s, Abraham Maslow created his theory of needs. This identified the basic needs that human beings have in order of their importance: physiologic needs, safety needs, and the needs for belonging, self-esteem, and self-actualizations. And later, David McCallum built on this work in his 1961 book, The Achieving Society. He identified 3 motivations that he believed we will have: a need for achievement, a need for affiliations, and a need for power. People will have different characteristics depending on their dominant motivator. And achievement has a strong need to set and accomplish challenging goals, takes calculated risks to accomplish their goals, likes to receive regular feedback on their progress and achievements, often like to work alone, and evaluations wants to belong to the group, when to be like, and will often go along with whatever the rest of the group wants to do. Favors collaborations over competition, doesn't like high risk or uncertainty. And the last is power, wants to control and influence others, like to win arguments, enjoys competitions and winning, enjoys status and recognitions. Okay, the next question is number 6. I will answer the questions by the open the link given before. So my answer is this theory explores classifications of business structure and organizations based upon the functions and roles of the individuals. Each culture defines the origin of power within that particular organizations and how that affects of the success of other employees and the business. Below is information and each of the four godlike cultures as well as information on other management theories and thought developed by Carlos Handy. The first is Zeus culture. Zeus culture, also known as a club culture or power culture, is the first in handy gods of management theory. In this business culture, the power is centralized around one person, the boss. And the next is Apollo culture. The Apollo role culture has a hierarchy of power distributions among employees and has a primary focus on order and efficiency. The culture generally ignores change on initial onset and rather attempts to rely upon the already established routines. Life insurance companies are a prime example of an Apollo culture. And the next is Athens cultures. The Athens or Thess culture distributes power to employees based upon their ability to perform the tasks necessary at a given time. Everything within this business structure revolves around the work or task. Individuals tend to receive a bit of independence within this business culture. And the next is Dionysius culture. The Dionysius cultures, also known as person cultures, is existential in nature and often also called existential culture. The focus of this businesses in the success of the employees rather than the company. Employees views that solve as a specialist temporarily learning their skills and service to the corporations. Motivations, calculus theory, and this motivation calculus theory is an extension of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Handy believed that our own personal analysis of a given situation produces additional needs, more results, and a higher degree of effectiveness. In short, this is Handy's calculus of motivations, which implies that our motivation is driven by a more complex set of needs than just needs, such as needs, Maslow's hierarchy of a needs factor, personality characteristic, current work environment, pressures, and outside influence. Results, we must be able to make sure that the effect of what our additional effort will produce, resulting from motivations, effectiveness, we decide whether the result we achieve meet our perceived needs. And the next question is question number 7, but this question is about the Hellespont swim cases. So the first questions is what motivational forces and factors can you see in this case study? So the biggest motivations factor for the protagonist and his friends to undertake the Hellespont swim was the reputation of being a difficult, rare, and almost impossible act. The wall swim thing had great mythological stories attached to it, and the belief that it was swimmable by gods only added to their convictions to do the same. The protagonist said about it on numerous occasions and had a strong desire of doing it himself. The fact that Piron, who was club-footed due to physical deficiency, was able to do it in his second attempt pushed them even more. Also, they were not professional swimmers, and by doing this, they want to enter this elite group of few people. They might have thought that being the amateur swimmers, if they are able to do this, the achievement will be even more glorified. Later in the case study, once they committed to it by depositing the amount, they never looked back. They started giving it their best and practiced it to their capabilities. Once they reached the Kanakel, their organizer Hussein made it into a big event and informed it to the media. The fact that media will be covering their swim and a lot of people will come to know about their success or failure made them even more determined. His comment that failure will not be purified clearly reflects that they were committed to do it by all means. And what motivational theories and concepts are illustrated on the accounts? For example, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Kruger's XY theory, Kellen's motivational theory, and the ideas of Adams, Bloom, Haney, and Herzberg. So, Maslow hierarchy of needs is Maslow divided the needs in a 5-level hierarchy, being psychological needs, safety needs, social needs, and STEM needs, and needs for self-actualizations. Here in case study of protagonists, the first 3 needs seems to have been already met, and the whole purpose of taking the swim challenge is to satisfy their esteem need and self-actualizations need. The sole intent to undertake the swim was to fulfill their needs for status, fame, glory, recognition, attentions, reputations, appreciations, and others. They, especially protagonists, want to do something great for himself and want to test himself to be maximum by doing something very difficult. McGregor XY theory. While analyzing the case study, inference can be drawn from theory Y of McGregor's XY theory. The protagonist, after setting the goal to swim Europe as a channel, didn't dictate the method and preparations of Steve and David Eventro. All were integrated towards one common goal and participate in the preparations together. The fact that Steve practiced and implemented the front crawl rather than breaststroke, which was used by the protagonist and David, clearly indicates the freedom they enjoy working on a common goal. Look goal setting the theory. So, as stated in the log goal setting theory, the protagonist and his friends set a specific and particularly a difficult goal for themselves. They were self-motivated, and reputation of being a rare event drove them to its competitions. They faced several challenges related to the paperwork, physical conditions, shortage of time, and adverse weather and water conditions, but the difficulty of the job motivated them. The public knowledge of their goals also ensured that they were always focusing on the success, and this increased their overcommitment. Bandura self-efficiency theory. Similar to the goal-setting theory, the story is also illustrated as the protagonist had a lot of confidence on himself and never twice wants to commitment himself to the task. They also practice hard and try to prepare themselves for the challenge. And the next question is, Also, what can you say about the story from the perspective of teamwork, team building, communication, planning and preparations, capability and potential, targets and goals, inspirations and role models, skills or knowledge or attitude factors, humor and fun, project management, encouragement and coaching, project support, achievement and recognition, evaluation and measurement. So, communications. Communication was not done in the best possible manner. The mode and timing could have been better in this case. There was only verbal communications between the three characters that two under the influence of alcohol where they all decide and agree to swim the Hellespont. And the next is planning and preparations. They didn't have any experience of swimming. They took training in the municipal pools, got to paperwork done for getting the entry to do Hellespont swim. This involved a lot of planning and preparation for the swim. However, the time span of the overall planning and practice could have been better. And next is capability and potential. They were very much sure of their potential, keeping in view that if Lord Brian can do it, we can also make it. At the end, they were able to do it by keeping themselves motivated. And next is inspirations and role model. Legend of hero and leaders inspire Lord Prince, which is turn was an inspiration for their three friends. Also, their quest for unmatched glory was also a major contributor to their achievement. Skills or knowledge and attitude factors. They had a very positive attitude towards attainment of their goal, and they took trainings and vitamin pills to keep them fit and accomplish their goals. In my opinion, their determinations was the biggest factor which helped them overcome all struggles. And next is humor and fun. There was a lot of humor involved as staff who was extremely fat with bad eating habits. Eva managed the swim, and three of them decided for the swim while having a bottle of wine. Fun after completing the fest as they celebrate their success, having a brandy in the memory of Lander. Also, David fought in Bond, coming to the Turkish media was a humorous moment of the case. And next is project management. From project management perspective, the entire project from starting till the end was managed efficiently, getting the paperwork done, mapping the route to the participants, arranging for the fitness vitamin pills, calling the press for the event involved project management. And next is encouragement and coaching. As already mentioned earlier, they took coaching in municipal pools to be ready to swim in the Hellespont. They also found an unconventional coach and guide in Hussein, who took care of all the relevant details. And next is achievement and recognitions. After all three of them managed to complete the Hellespont swim, they become popular in the Turkish TV as they managed to complete the swim, which was supposed to complete by those who are supposed to be gods. They felt proud on themselves and based in the glory together. Next questions is what aspect of the experience could have improved or done differently and why? The first is training and preparations. There is one area where they could have done much better. The time by span of planning and training was way less than required. First of all, they should have planned it with some time in hand. A successful project requires adequate planning and defined timelines. Instead, they took the decisions under the impressions of alcohol and rushed into everything. Secondly, since even were short on time, they didn't practice well. For a swim in a commercial sea land, they practice in municipal polls, which are by no means comparable. Also, their bodies were not in shape for such as physical activity, still have ventured into it. They were unprepared and, in a way, endangered their life to complete this goal. Thirdly, they could have searched some more. They were aware that Biran did this in his second attempt but still did not. Trying to find out why he failed for the first time. Byron, as told, used pre-stroke techniques, and that might be the reason for his first-time failure. If they had, they might have found this and might have practiced the front crawl throughout. This might have made their achievement even more glorified, as the time take would have reduced substantially. So the next question is number 8. So, what have you got from studying advanced human resources management for one semester? Of course, I gained a lot of knowledge from frequent discussions, then individual sharing and material presentations, so that I can hone my language skill, leadership, and become more focused thinker and understand every material from the guidebook provided. In a sense, this course is very fun and has many benefits. And how do you find the lecture of Advanced Human Resources Management via meeting? Every meeting, the lecturer will attend and create students, give instructions for opening comments before starting. And thank you for Sir Adi, who always give critics, advice, and knowledge to me, so it is easy to understand the learning material. And how can the lecture of Advanced Human Resources Management contribute to you success in your life in the future? All the knowledge, information, and books provided are certainly very useful, especially for me in the future, because indirectly we can implement the theory, we can do it for real, becoming a manager or leader in company, or being an employee in a company must certainly have the skills, abilities, and knowledge needed by the company. And the next is question number 9. So, what topics have you present? So, the topics of my discussions is in chapter 27, which is recruitment and selections. And this question is, how important is your topics present to you? So, my topic is, and of course, very important, where the process of recruitment and selection is very much important and must be based on the proper working as well for its success. The best recruitment process enhances the organization's improvement and operating facilities, because better will be the employees, better will be the reputations of the company according in the international standard of market in business. The main source of the recruitment process is to hire the best talent, best person, best mind for the best and efficient working in an organization. Recruitment involves the process of proper searching of the employees for the organizations. There are many methods, includes the proper searching methods in terms of searching for new employees for the organizations. The process must be good. The process of searching must be good, and now that many of the deserving candidates will approach you advertisements or job after at a glance. Most of the time, if proper working on the searching process cannot be performed, when it did not waste your time as well, plus you will lose a better and efficient person for that post, also because of poor advertisement of the post. The basic and main purpose of this process is in select the best person for the proper working in the organizations. An organization sometimes faces situations in which they have to cope up with the tougher situations and most complicated tasks to achieve in specific limited time. In that situation, such candidates are needed which can survive in those candidates with better efficiency of working in the organizations. The selection process include interview and also the testing of some employees and check their abilities and qualifications in terms of using any sensitive softwares in the organizations depends on the complexity of work. The better will be your selections process, the better will be your organization's working efficiency as compared to other organizations' employees. So, my friends, that all my answer. I hope that you can understand my answer. Please give comment and subscribe. Thank you.